Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop.
Hey y'all, Jacob Ledrup here.
Hey guys, Chuck Ritchie here, formerly of Bowl TV.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schaefer of track staff at Valley Bowling Center in Waverly, New York.
And you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Yo, the boys from Straight Up 5, Rad Rob, Dr Ocho, and of course JP Jr.
As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation.
Strike, and they claim it. Somebody does it!
So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I am your host, Rad Rob, Rob Francois. This is episode 153. We have a very special guest, but before we get into that, let's check and see who's here in the chat. We got Nico Pujar, our resident statistician. What's going on, Nico? Are you any closer to finding your neck? I'm a week closer than I was last week. So, there's that. We got the lovely Martha Sue's in the house. What's going on? Let's fucking go. We got Mike. Mike Ruther. What's going on, brother? Subbing in Challenge League tonight. I'll catch the show later. Sounds good. Appreciate you checking in with us. We got Johnny Sperone, my boy John. What's going on, brother? That's me. That's me. And yeah, Ocho's here somewhere too. P-Cow, what's going on, brother? Welcome. What's going on, Billy? What's up, Skyers? Hey, bro, thanks for helping me get our guest that we have on tonight. I know he's been a friend of yours for a while. Moselle Henry, hello, sweetheart. What's up, sexy Rob? Looking slim. I'm trying. I'm slimmer. Not quite slim yet, but I appreciate that. I'm still working on it. I didn't go to the gym today, but I did mow the lawn, so I at least got some exercise today. My muscles hurt. I've been going 7 days a week, and I think I just need to take a break every now and then because I'm pushing it too hard. Block Ocho. Contractually, John, I cannot block Ocho, but if I didn't have that legal binding agreement bullshit, I probably would. Barry Hughes is in the house. What's going on? What's up, Barry? All right, let's bring in my first co-host. He is the aforementioned retard named Ocho. That's bad. That gets a bad name to retards. He is the resident doctor of Straight Up 5. He has the shiniest mask in the world. He still has the largest arms on this podcast, but I'm working on it. He is the house hack from Hollow Lanes, Dr. Ocho. What's going on, brother?
All right, he wasn't saying block Ocho like block him. He's saying Ocho is a block of fucking muscle, is what he was saying. Obviously, I don't know why your grammar skills are deteriorating as fast as the chances of us finding your neck. That's absurd. Nobody's blocking. Ocho doesn't block anybody. Nobody's blocking Ocho. People want to hear what Ocho has to say. And on top of that, Rob, that sucked again.
I know.
Stop it.
Just change it the time to confuse.
Stop it.
Sorry,
Rob.
I'm sorry.
Stop it.
Okay. Hey, by the way, where's your neck? Can you show me your neck at least?
Yeah, it's thick and big and
So's
has
mine.
fats on it. So my bad.
That's fair.
Sorry for having these.
Put up the guns.
Put up
Your shoulders are still. God damn, you haven't been to the gym since COVID. I don't know how you do it.
Doesn't matter. Muscle memory, because muscles don't want to leave Ocho. That's why.
That's
kind of a stupid question is that.
That's fair.
Anyway, yes, you are. Your muscles hurt because you just woke them up. Now, what I say is you need a break. So do your normal 10-year off, and then I think we're going to be reconvening in 2035. And then, hey, Johnny Petraglia Jr., it's a new podcast, and I'm going to start doing some bicep curls.
What's up, Chuck? Oh, Nicole's here. Hang on.
Hi, I'm super excited to be able to wish Ocho a happy birthday today.
Hello, Nicole. No, seriously, Oach. Like, I am making gains. I'm lifting a lot more than I did
man, you're gaining
2 months ago. But should I take a break, or is going every day fine?
You take 2 days off and then get back at it. You're being ridiculous. You're being a freaking clamshell, is what we call them.
I'm just trying to, get this shit done.
Navigate life, and that's true too. But your neck will turn up someday, some way. Much like these missing kids, sometimes. It's fine. We'll find it. You gotta think positive, like I do.
Nico wants.
I do.
Anyway, let's get the show on the road, man. Enough about me and being a block of freaking mountain. Let's get this shit going.
Johnny Petraglia Jr. I couldn't even do the intro. He's the sexiest man in the world.
I was curious if I actually had a spot on the show tonight.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what do I do now? Do I take a day off? Take a week off? Can I have some mayonnaise?
I will say this. What he's saying is exactly right. And the same thing Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman say, there is no such thing as overtraining.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're hurting, even if it's cold outside, you go. Just go. Just go. I promise. There is no such thing as overtraining. You want to split them up every 72 hours to give recovery?
That's what you have to do.
Okay, fine.
That's what you have to do.
Fine. But you keep going because it's obviously working. And I promise you in 2 more months, you're going to see the same results that you had the first time you embarked on this journey. So let's go, baby.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that, John. All right, let's bring in our special guest. He is a longtime member of the staff bowling staff.
Already fucked that up.
Yep.
He's a staff bowling staff guy, and he's a staff bowler.
He's the brains behind the beauty that we see on television every week for the brands of Storm.
There you go. That's a perfect.
Way to go, Rob. Yeah, you do everything. Okay, yeah, sure. Good job, buddy.
And one of the coolest dudes in the world. Now I'll shut up.
He really is. He's also a wrestling fan, like this guy. Not Johnny hasn't been.
He knows like who won the NCAAs this year, like I do.
No, not the fake wrestling, the pro wrestling.
We're talking about the fake wrestling, the NCAAs.
Yeah, no. He is one and only Roto-Schlem, Chris Schlemer. What's going on, brother? Thanks for being here.
What is up, boys? I gotta say, my man, hey, there's nothing wrong with being short for your weight, bro. Like I've been that way my whole life. I'm 6'5" and 330, and if I was 8'2", I'd be skinny. But
under tall, buddy, under tall.
Never, yeah, under tall. As they say. What the one I heard not too long ago? I identify as unexercised. I think. So and unfortunately,
I do.
At least you guys can do that stuff, right? Like, it's a deal. Like I told you boys, I currently have a wound vac attached to me, so I can't really do anything crazy physical because I'm third surgery in 6 months. So I've had to kind of just chill, and I've become really good at being a vegetable in my chair. That's what I got cooking.
I don't like vegetables, but I mean, I can deal with
that.
Obviously.
No, but that's
that would be the first vegetable that I go after.
True, very true.
Vegetables are good if you like dip vegetables in cheese. It's good.
Good on you for knowing it, man.
I dip celery in ranch. That's about the only thing that I eat right now. So, so what's going on with the surgery? What's caused all this, brother?
So it's one of those deals of I've had hydradenitis for like 25, 26 years. I had surgery under my right arm back in 2003 to kind of remove some hydradenitis there because I was having real bad flare-ups, and I get these, it's pockets of fluid and pus and blood and stuff, right? And that kind of fixed it. But then my left side just kind of flared up out of nowhere the last few years, and I've been dealing with that. And it turned into after the dermatologist goes, "Hey, let's go see a plastic surgeon." Cut me open, filleted me open like a nice big fish, and basically carved out my whole left armpit. And we thought that was going good, and then it turned into there was another spot that popped up, and it kind of was still leaking the hydradenitis, so had to go in and get the rest of it out. So, as they say, third time's a charm. Hopefully, like I said, I'm in this window with a wound vac, trying to get it healed shut, and getting back to normal. And I mean, that's kind of what I got cooking here. But to help you clarify, the staff guy of staff things, well, or whatever y'all want to call me. So I'm actually the brand manager of Roto-Grip, right? I've been with Storm now. Actually, May 1st will be 24 years at Storm. I was originally the tour rep. I did that for like 11 plus years, and I took over Roto-Grip in 2012. So I'm the guy that, when I'm creating the balls, the bags, the apparel, and all the crazy stuff. So
gotcha.
That's kind of my deal. But, I still do help. Obviously I see the comments. Skis. I do work with Daria occasionally when she's practicing at the lanes, and even, Hank's wife, Lindsay, and stuff like that. And, I still, even to this day, I'm one of the lifelines to the guys out on tour. I've been texting with Simo and Sean Rash and some guys. We've got a tour team, but, there's still Schlem's still kind of the background guy, right? Like I popped in and tour repped last year a couple times for the first time in a while. So it's once you're kind of entrenched in it, you're kind of just forever in it, right?
Yeah, true.
Hey, can you mirror image your screen, because we want to see the Roto grip behind it? It's actually going backwards. If you could see on screen, so check in your settings. There's probably mirror image. It'll be forward. It'll have Roto grip, so we can get your damn freaking image the right way.
To get my head to fit in the screen.
Oh, your head's fitting perfect, man. We want to see. We don't want to see error. We want to see Roto grip, man. Let's get this shit out.
So if you go to settings,
if you can, I'm just
down below. There's a little settings button.
I just saw someone say like brand management, and I'm like thinking like we gotta.
And then you click on video.
Yep.
And then down below there's mirror camera.
Mirror camera.
Rob's doing it.
Perfect.
There we go, buddy. See?
There we go.
Better.
Well, Sean, let me at least feed off there, especially for the people that are in our chat tonight, because everybody's always curious about the parts of the sport that are, I guess, more behind the scenes, and unless you're there, you don't really experience. What is it like? Let's go back to like repping on tour prior to brand manager. Let's go back to, you're there every block, every squad, working with multiple personalities all the time.
It was
a hell of a schedule.
That's got to be nutty, right?
I think it's the way I used to explain it was you compare it to golf, right? Because you got a caddy. But when you look at a golfer and all the coaches they have, right? Like, so you've got a swing coach, and you've got your, granted, obviously we already talked about my size, right? I'm not exactly the dietitian, but you've got the guy that works on your putting. You got the guy that works on your driver. You got this guy. You got your Dr. Phil. You got all this stuff, right? Well, a tour rep is all that into one person. And then, like you said, when you've got all the
and more people, that's the other thing.
Yeah, more people, and like you said, Junior, is the deal with the personalities, bro. It was one of those things of back in my day with the crew that I had, right? I had, when I first came on board, that was when Robert Smith was the big hook guy. Colin Cable was the max rev guy, and nobody would when he was doing what he did, there was nobody else in the building close to him. And, you think about the generational and how things have changed since. But anyway, working with Colin Cable, the way I talked to Rob was different than the way I talked to Pete Weber, which was different than the way I talked to Norm Duke. Because all these guys see it different, and they all need to be spoken to on their level of what they're looking for at the moment. Some guys are a little bit more emotions. some guys like Norm Duke's a little bit more technical guy. And he sees it totally different than everybody in the world, right? Like my man is out on another planet just doing his thing. And he's like, well, if I get this lay left, I can miss long right and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude. And then I go to Pete might be right next door. I'm like, hey, jackass, throw it better. He's like, okay. And I'll just go to the next guy, and and then some guys you got to, and even girls, right? Because I grew up on the ladies' tour is really how I got my foot in the door, right? Like I drilled balls on women's tour for a few years before I graduated to where I got to, right? And that's really where I learned it. I think, I gotta give mad props to my boy Del Ballard, right? The bald one was I learned a lot from him and some other guys out on the women's tour that helped me get to where I got to on, when I took over the Storm gig, I was doing all the tours. That was back when I was, traveling 40 weeks out of the year. There's only 52 still in a year, but yeah, on the road 40 weeks a year between the men's tour, ladies tour, and senior tour. And talk about emotions and the gamut of personalities.
So I'm going to ask a tougher question right now just to follow up on that one.
Yeah.
What kind of brain, because you said Pete's one way, Norm's one way. What kind of brain what's the easiest kind of brain for you to relate to? Which one of these kinds of personalities? You don't have to say a specific person, but like what brain is like?
You got to be a little chameleon, obviously,
but.
And that was, and what was funny about that, right? When you reference the chameleon thing, right? God rest his soul, Bill Christman, the owner of Storm, I tour rep for all those years. And after a handful of them, right? The one day, I don't know, we were at a tour stop or I was at the office or something. He looked at me and he goes, how the fuck do you do it? Like, you're one of the craziest. He goes, I've had all these tour reps before you. Hank only did it for a year and then Hank went in the office, right? But going back to Brian Berg and some of the other guys, like Berg flipped out. Like the guys were too much for him. Klumpkin had a short career out there. Hank went in the office. And then I came along and he's like, I don't know how you deal with all those crazy people. Because you see them in the heat of moment, right? Like everybody flies off the handle of a deal. And you're right. The chameleon thing is the big thing. And that was always something I didn't really had a problem with the strong personalities or weak personalities, right? The thing I always struggled with, I think the self-reflection, I think was the toughest thing I had for some people. Because, I'm just an assistant, right? Like I'm there to help. I'm not throwing it for you. I can give you my educated guesses and I'm going to change surface. We're going to lay out balls. We're going to do this. Hey, by the way, step 2 is too short. You're hinging too much in the top of the swing, blah, 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 blah. And then they do whatever. And then they come back and go, oh, I aced that shot. I'm like, you aced it? You missed the head pin. Like physically, you did nothing of what we just discussed.
Something went awry.
And you think you threw it great. And I'm like, that was the only thing that really, I think, even still to this day, like when I'm helping, doesn't matter the person, right? Like sometimes I'm like, okay, let's dial it back down a notch. Let's look in the mirror. Did you execute that the best of your ability? And if that's the case, then we got to take that and build off of that because
you got some work to do there.
What we're trying to do, we ain't getting there, right? Like that's the thing.
So you're a bona fide shrink, a bowling shrink for at this point. With a ton of knowledge and obviously a great mind to soothe these savage beasts that we have on the lanes too, man. Mm-hmm. That's a tall task, my man, and good thing you're 6'5" because damn.
Yeah, no, that made the easy part, right? But it was never about that. It was, like I said, the way I had to, in the heat of the moment, and Junior, this, obviously your dad is a legend of the game, right? Like, and you've been around all the boys. It's and even some of the ladies. People are wired different, right? And especially when it comes to competition, you have to be able to know what is that trigger to help it and what causes it to spiral out of control. You've got to kind of sometimes walk that tightrope with some people. Others, obviously, I see Pete's coming up quite a few, right? Like PDW was the guy of, man, he just had to get to that other gear. He had a gear that nobody else had. And the same thing now. What's crazy is I see a lot of him. Simo's the same way, right? Anthony Simonson. He's got that other gear. And, I got to tell you, you had Belmo on. I don't know if Simo's been on here yet, but, it's a deal of, Simo's, we've had talks with him like, hey, bro, you've got, EJ's doing EJ things right now, right? Like he's number one in the world. EJ, props to him. Like my man's bowling on another planet. But Simo has that gear, and if he can get to that deal where he can figure out, because Pete used to be able, when Pete was in his prime, he could flip that switch and it'd just be in coast mode, and everybody like, oh shit, Pete's the next thing you know, he's 300 pins ahead of everybody. Like he could do things that nobody, it was just wild, right? But then some guys and girls, you have to coach them into that, and you've got to help feed them into that. They don't have that switch and let's go, right? Like, so it's just different.
You said it best there, and never had Simo on the show, but obviously when I was living in Vegas, spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the exact same way I feel about Pete. What you just said is they're both so down to earth and so real, and I think that gets missed sometimes because they're aggressive on themselves, never on anybody else.
It's authenticity, really. Like,
correct. Like, and that's the whole thing of the things that would, and that's the whole thing. And I even, it's funny, and obviously Pete is still Pete, right? Like, and he has, we still got the anniversary, ESPN still does the anniversary of the show there at Carolier. And, and he still had his mishaps, even as recent as last year on the senior tour. But we got a message to the office. I think it was last year, somebody who their entire life didn't like the guy. They finally met him in person. They had to send a message. They're like, Pete's the coolest guy there was no way I pinned him to be that guy. He was so cool. We talked for like half an hour. It was great. And I'm like, yeah, if you know Pete, he'd give you the shirt off his back. It's a little shirt, but he'd give it to you.
We'd be stuck in it, but
right,
he's
exactly.
Done this on the
right?
show a handful of times where, like, even on television, when he's in with you, he flips the switch.
Yep.
But then as soon as it's over, gracious as always, shakes the guy's hand, gives him a hug. Great bowling, congrats, keep going. Like, the guy is not, he's paying it forward, and he's been doing it for a long time. And it's a shitty rap that he does get. I don't know that he gets it, because I feel like he's gained so many fans over time anyway, but it just sucks that they don't see that, and they don't understand the entertainment value of it anyway.
Like last week, Schlem, we had Gary Haynes on, the newest Masters champ, and congrats again, Gary.
And John Boy Media, by the way, John Boy Media took care of this. Everybody go to John Boy Media. This is going to gain it. Well, he talked about his kissing, about Dino Castillo saying, "Go give your wife a kiss." John Boy Media is so good. It's going to gain traction. Stuff that was going to be legendary that we said. Go ahead.
I'm talking about Simo.
Oh, no, but go ahead about the Simo too. But I'm just saying, you said shout out to Gary Haynes. Go ahead. You're right.
I shouted out to Gary
You're
Haynes.
Right.
Yes, I did.
Let's get them both in.
The main thing was after Simo fried out,
classy,
he hugged Gary not once but twice and told him to enjoy that moment. Like, it was his first order of business. And that's the Anthony that I know all the time.
Right. If you know Simo personally, right, and that's the whole thing. The kid, he had a pretty hard life coming up, man. Like he if people knew the real story behind it, they would be, oh my gosh. But what I was going to say about him, with him being a bowling alley rat and him growing up the way he did, and we just seen it recently. I don't know if you guys are hockey fans, but we saw the deal with Ovi and the great one, right? Like that whole deal. It's the legacy of the sport, right? And Simo is still, even though the tour is what it is now, he's still a carryover from that generation, because that's the way he grew up, right? He respects the game. Now he gets pissed off. He comes off the handle and he'll break scores, and he does all the shit that he does, right? But there's certain things that frustrate him and fry him. But at the end of the day, exactly what you saw he do, him and Gary and the hug and the whole deal, that wasn't for TV. That wasn't no bullshit.
Nope.
Coddling them, whatever. It was like, man, and exactly what, if you saw Simo's post on Facebook afterwards, right? Because things got fucking crazy like they always do when it comes to bowling, because everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants a chirp. Simo posted the deal of, man, I went with my gut. I made the wrong choice. I paid the penalty. Hats off. My man, all he had to do was damage control, and he beat me. I did that, and he's okay with it, right? And but to add to what you guys said too about the John Boy Media thing, right? this goes back to Pete, and this goes back to, and Junior, you were still hanging around. Well, obviously, you weren't even in Vegas yet. We were Cavalier all those years, right? Like, it was a deal with when the new PBA started in 2001. The goal for Steve Miller and Ian Hamilton, they wanted Pete on TV, regardless, love him or hate him. You talked about it. You got the recognition. And this whole deal, you know, Dino's the bowling whisperer and the kissing the wife and the whole thing. That's perfect because it's now created something to talk about. And I think that's my big thing, you know, but guys, I've been in this business. You know, I started thinking about it. You know, I started drilling balls when I was 16, and I've been in the professional side of it. You know, I started drilling balls on the ladies' tour when I was 19. So I'm coming up on 30 years on the pro side of bowling, right? And we've done a really, pardon my French, shitty job of telling the story about the sport, right? And
Agreed.
you know, you've got to be able to talk about it.
We talk about that all the time, man. We do.
Take the low lights, take whatever it is, and you just got to talk about it, right? Like, but yeah, I mean, when was the last time? I mean, and again, this is what it is, right? I mean, EJ's had one hellacious year. I mean, he's head and shoulders ahead of second place. And are we seeing EJ on SportsCenter? Are we seeing EJ on Fox Sports News? Are we seeing? I mean, we're not seeing that. But now, social media world, John Boy's picking up like, man, this dude kissed his wife mid-match. My man throws a strike. He wins $100,000. Yeah, no shit. That's kind of cool. Like, but the bowling world doesn't see it that way. They don't embrace it. They don't. I don't know. And you know, we're talking about the wrestling thing, right? And I've been a proponent. I'm starting to kind of step back and look at this, going, man, the storylines we've got good storylines, but we don't ever tell them.
Right.
So that's the tough part.
We've said that quite a bit. Like, we wish Fox had more time, or even if they got a secondary program and just say, like, you know, Fox Sports Net or whatever, like, just, or FS2, where they have a profile show. Like, these are the people that are in a tournament this week. You can see them on Sunday, Saturday, blah, 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 and feature them. Tell Simo's story. Tell Gary's story. D-Ron's story from last year. Boog's story from getting killed in the PTQs to now he's exempt. Like, there's so many stories, especially last year with all the new winners.
And
we always want to root for somebody. We always want to have a vested interest in being behind somebody. Otherwise, why are we watching?
And a prime example I give you to that, right? Like, in that, you know, a lot of times the shows are an hour and a half, right? And exactly what you said, and this is something I've thought about and I've asked about for years, and it's obviously deaf ears or whatever. You know, it's a deal of when you watch like the NFL, and whether it's Aaron Andrews or RG3, they're like, oh, hey, you know, the one that pops in my head instantly is the one, you know, oh, hey, we're going to Green Bay. We're going to talk to Jordan Love because he's now the heir apparent. Aaron Rodgers moved on.
Sure.
You got that 5-minute, 10-minute little blip. You could, think about Kimberly Presser sitting down and you're like, oh, Gary Haynes. Okay. Here's his story. The guy you've never seen on TV before.
Yep.
Here's a 5-minute little segment we put together, a little package. And it could have been between in the two games of the title match. It could have been could have let off the show, but just that little nugget of something to chew on. Because instead, and again, I love Kimberly and I've known her for a long time. You know, she's just doing the deal, but the questions thing, man, that's old.
Who gives a fuck about pressing questions? Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. I mean, obviously you hear some goofy stuff, but again, to the common bowler who's not a bowling nerd, again, we're not talking to that other audience. We're just talking to bowling nerds. Like, that's the truth of it. You guys can come at me all you want on social media. I don't give a shit, but it's a deal of that's what it is, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't tell the story enough to the masses. I think that's the deal.
You hit the nail on the head, and like comparatively speaking, I'm a bowling nerd, but when I do my TikTok scroll, I like when I find those little 5 or 30-second pieces where it's like, hey, what car is going to make it to 200,000 miles? What car would you never, ever want to get serviced? I watch guys make I follow Amari Guisson, and I watch him make all of his chocolates. Like, I know nothing about that world, but I watch those videos.
Correct. Because there's a spark interest in it, right? Like, and that's the whole thing of, you know, and actually I've been having this conversation with a few different people of late. Like, it's a deal of when you look at the masses, right? Like, on average, we don't know the exacts, but 55 million plus people bowl a year, right? Like, what happened on that Master show? Man, to bowling people that really appreciate bowling, they know it's a major, they know it's tough. Man, they know my man was on life support. Simo did what Simo did. That was the result that happened, right? And then you got people that are going to go, stupid, and blah, blah, they're going to bash it. But then to somebody who doesn't know, they don't understand it because they look at it and go, okay, so these guys are hugging. That guy kissed his wife. Why am I supposed to watch?
Right.
What's my hook? What am I latching onto here? I need a nugget. I need something to chew on, right? Like I don't know. It's a thing. But.
So PBA does a great job on Facebook with their posts, but if they got more engaged with X and with TikTok and Instagram and putting up stories and reels, I think, because everybody has this in their hand just about at all times, right? Everywhere you go. Yep. That's just the way it is nowadays. If they would put more stories on the reels and the shorts, I think they would attract more people.
I concur, right? Like, and it's a deal of, but then you get into the other side of it. And Junior, you know this because you've been around everybody for a long time. Some bowlers are just private. They don't want to do that. There's a lot of them that don't even have social media. Like
Many don't have social media.
Yeah, they're just like, you know what? Yeah. Like, hey, you want to talk about? There's some people that hate talking about themselves. And then you got others that they just don't shut up about themselves. And you're like, okay, well, we don't need you. We need more of you, but you don't want to do it. So where do we go?
I don't think we want bowlers cutting promos because they like Troop could do it and a few other people could. I don't think everybody could do that.
Chuck, man, I'm right there with you, bro. I've been saying this for a long time. Cutting promos and being more, again, going back to the presentation and the story on TV. These guys are mic'd up. When was the last time you can almost count on your two hands the number of instances that a soundbite resonated and shook the sports world, right? Like
one hand.
On one hand.
Yeah.
And it's not like when you hear the sound bites from the Ovechkin deal, this last weekend, or like, oh, we got so-and-so mic'd up and, oh, this is what tidbits from in-game. Like, you're hearing all sorts of stuff, right? These guys, the microphone's on the whole time. It's like you wonder if they even have a heartbeat.
True.
Like, what there's not even a peep being muttered. Some guys, and I think it's because the complexity of things changed, right? Like back when it was, because it used to be the deal. They wanted Pete on TV all the time, right? And then finally, I'll never forget, Steve Miller, he came up and he's like, hey, he goes, you seen Pete? I'm like, he's around there somewhere. He's like, okay, I got good news for him. I'm like, okay, what's up? He's like, just want Pete to be Pete. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? He's like, well, the guys used to get fined for cussing on TV and blah, blah, blah. Pete, unchained. He can do whatever he wants. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? He said, because Pete has managed to stay within the boundaries and the guidelines. My man did everything he could without stepping to that spot, right? And so I'll never forget when Steve Miller, he tells Pete, he's like, hey, man, he's like, oh, you can, you do whatever. He goes, well, keep it within reason, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, are you sure you want me to do that? That's the same thing I said, right? Pete's like, are you sure? And then him and I talked about it. And he's like, Schlem, I don't know if I can do that. I go, dude, just be yourself. We're not, you're made for TV anyway. And like he says, even now, love him or hate him, you watched. You wanted to see what he was going to do next, right? And we haven't had that. And they tried to make, and we're talking about the Fox and how they do things, right? Like the vignettes they're old for one.
Yeah.
Some of the guys don't even have the right logos on their shirts because they're packaged from last year.
Right.
But it's a deal of when a few years ago when they missed the opportunity with the WWE when they had that deal with the title belt and they had Roman Reigns and they've had some different wrestlers come through and all this different stuff, and they didn't allow they wanted to try and create characters out of the bowlers, but the guys were hesitant or they didn't want that persona. Like they didn't talk to him and go, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Like it was a deal of like Francois Lavoie, like the photo shoot with him wearing a suit on the lanes. Like he was James Bond.
Right.
And then they wanted Simo to be the bad boy bowling. And Simo's like, dude, I don't want to do it. Like, that's not who I am. I go, well, technically you are. You just don't realize it. Like your natural reactions are that way. And so that's why they're thinking that. I said, bro, you're just like Pete. He goes, yeah, but I'm not Pete. I don't want to be that guy. I said, okay, so don't be that guy. You got to tell them that, right? Like, so I think it's just a deal of they didn't know what or how, right? By the way, 100,000% agree with that. The public rivalry, like we need head to head, and we need to give people a reason to tune in, And again, I threw this out there, and I'm like, and Belmo was in the office the week before, right? He just did his ball drop and the whole thing, and rather, he goes wherever. He was in the office all last week, and I chatted with him a couple times, and we got talking about that stuff, and he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, like if we had a head to head, right? Like you're the GOAT, and now you're passing the torch, right? Like Belmo's not going to bowl forever. He's only got a couple more years left, but it's like, okay, well, it's him and EJ. If we knew every week we get some sort of a Belmo EJ match, and it could be, 1 week could be total pins, the next week could be best 3 out of 5. It could be a 9-pin no tap. You know what I'm saying? Like make it a stipulation, make it different, like kind of like wrestling does. Or like, when they tell the storyline over a 3 or 6 month window, it's not the same exact match every time. You're like, we're going to do a cage match. We're going to do a Texas strap match. We're going to do. And I told him, I said, if we had that like one match a week where people be like, oh man, I got to tune in. What's Belmo and EJ going to do this week? Right. Like people would, I think, latch onto it. Right. Like
Glenn, everybody's in the chat saying the exact same thing I was going to say when they tried it with the Belmo Rash and they did the clash. And that was a heated rivalry because I would say more so Sean didn't like Jason, didn't like the changing of the guard. That's just the way I've always felt about it, and I actually don't care if anybody disagrees. That's my opinion.
Well, and I'll throw, not to cut you off, Junior, throw this a bit in there. In that point in time, Belmo didn't like Sean either.
I believe that too.
That was trust me, that I got to feel both sides of that one, bro.
But that's
no love lost. But as they've gotten older, they got past it. But you're right. That interaction. And
look at how fast everybody brought it up in the chat. I mean, like that's what we need. Is
you don't forget it.
We need people that genuinely do not like each. Like, could you imagine if Parker Bone and Jason Couch didn't like each other?
Correct.
Or they didn't room together, or Walter Ray and Pete really, really hated each other. I'm like, that's
correct.
We need like Moselle said, like you agreed with. We need the rivalry. I think that at this point, I think that's what Steve Miller was trying to do.
Absolutely.
I think that's why he said, Pete, go out and do what you do.
Yeah. But what's funny is that point in time, he was the only one, right? Because like if somebody else, he's like, and we're like, how many F-bombs is that going to be? Like, it could be, I mean, my man comes unglued. He could come unglued, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll waive all the fines. It'll be fine. Like, are you doing that for everybody? Well, we got to talk about it with everybody because they knew that if they could get Pete to that spot, they knew it was going to be on ESPN. They knew it was going to be on Fox. They knew it was going to draw national media and the public attention. And right now, there's zero public attention in any way.
You talked about the sound bites we could count on one or two hands. Who do you think you are? I am is one of the 5 sound bites I thought of.
Yep, exactly.
That was like actually the first one I thought of.
Yep,
and I think it'd be the first one for a lot of people, even if they aren't bowlers.
True.
Correct. And because it's become a thing like in society. Like they talk about a Pat McAfee. I mean, it's on everywhere. Like, oh, it's the 10th anniversary. It's the anniversary. And then every once in a while, it'll randomly spark up and it comes through like my feed on Facebook or something else. I'm like, oh, well, I haven't seen that in a while. Like but it still exists. It's still a thing. And, actually the Rash Belmo thing, the bottle bitch thing, right? Like that was another one that pops in your head, right? Like that Absolutely. Was, take that, you bottle bitch. And people latch onto it. They're like, oh crap. Like he's in his grill.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing. I think that's part of it too, right? These guys, because like I said, they don't talk. There's no, you can be, and it's just the whole thing. That's the funny part, right? Like wrestling. Oh, we know all these guys in the heat of the moment, they're going to react and do what they do. Right. But there's 99% of them are still friends off the lanes. They're still rooming together. They're still going to go to dinner together. They're still going to go have a beer together, whatever. But, man, to tell the story to the public, man, in the heat of the moment, just like when you're bowling league you're a handicap league on Tuesday night, man, you want to strike out to win. You don't want to be that guy that messes it up, right? Like, you're smacking it out, you're slapping it. I mean, you're doing whatever, right? Like, it's just nature of bowling.
Forgive me if I'm long-winded with this, because this is a dead serious question. I want to make sure I hit everything on the head before you answer. Bowling's identity, right? It's always been, even though it's a blue-collar sport, it's kind of been treated like a white-collar sport like golf. In golf, we don't see heated rivalries, and yet we still have viewers, like millions upon millions upon millions of viewers playing golf for millions of dollars every week. In the bowling world, we have the PBA Tour, we have the USBC, and then we have Rudy Revs in the chat, who is like the most decorated action bowler of all time, where your entire life is dedicated to basically shitting on your opponent and getting in their head.
Mm-hmm.
We see it in action bowling. We see it on, like, say, the Live Golf Tour, but that's pretty new, comparatively speaking. And then you take a tournament like the Masters, where you can't bring in a cell phone. You're not allowed to yell. You have to be dressed properly. Like, in golf, it seems to work at the upper echelon. And in bowling, we haven't quite figured out a way to incorporate the awesomeness of, say, like action or amateur bowling, the UBA, X League, things like that. What is bowling's identity? Are we more WWE or are we more golf? And which way do we go to get more people interested?
And you know what's funny about that, right? This has been weighing on me heavy for a while now. And the truth of the matter is, right, you got to look at it for what it is. Bowling, and the fact of, we got passed by all these other sports, right? Like pickleball blew past us, cornhole blew past us, everything blew past us. Bowling is the only sport in if you look at it from this perspective. And I brought this up to somebody recently, and they looked at me like I had a third eyeball, and they're like, I never even thought of it that way. When you go back to the 70s, 80s, bowling was ahead of the NFL. Bowling was ahead of the PGA. Those guys looked up to bowlers because those guys were the pinnacle of the working class.
Yes. Exactly
what you said. What does bowling fall as? It's entertainment. It's not a white-collar sport. White-collar people who are now, and with the, I hate to use this word, right? Don't come at me. The segregation deal, right? The working class and blue-collar, white-collar are farther apart than they've been in a long time.
Sure.
The people that are golf people, the ones who can afford to go to Augusta this week, how many bowlers do you really think are there? Gonna guess, the 100+ thousand that are going to go there this week, man, I'm going to guess there's going to be less than 2,000 total.
I agree.
That attend. And so you have to look at it from the other side. So we're technically blue collar, but yet we don't, like I said earlier, we don't touch the entertainment aspect. Why do people go bowling? Well, they had fun at a birthday party, or, oh, hey, it's Saturday night. Let's go to, Cosmic Bowl, or let's go hang out. Like, oh, back in town, the weather's crappy. Hey, by the way, I haven't seen you in 5 years. Oh, hey, let's go hang out at the bowling center. Let's bowl a couple games, have some drinks, catch up. And we actually did a marketing campaign years ago at Storm. And I've seen it been used since then, right? Bowling is the original social network. Like, that's what it is. Like, before social media, bowling was the social network. And I'll give you guys a funny story regarding that, right? This Junior, I'll get back to your topic, but the social network aspect, right? Have you guys ever heard of the guy by the name of Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe?
Sure.
Yes, once or twice.
You've heard of him, okay? I was fortunate enough to meet him right in Detroit, because he threw out the first ball. Got to chat with him. He actually ended up sending me out of nowhere. He sent me an autographed photo of me and him together, and I got it on display in my living room. Cool shit, right?
That's so cool.
Anyway, the Detroit Red Wings did not play, I can't remember, it was either Mondays or Tuesday. I think it was Monday nights. they didn't play Monday nights during their stretch run or during a number of years because that's the night they bowled with their wives. The NHL scheduled their games around their bowling league because most of the guys on the team at the time met their wives at a bowling center. They're like, hey, we kind of need to bowl with our wives. We need to be home to bowl. And I'm like, this is Gordie Howe telling me the story, right? And I'm like, where did we go wrong? Like, how did we miss that boat?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so that's what I'm saying is like bowling was always on that pedestal and it was a thing. And then you look at, and you talk about the rivalries and how things got to where they were, right? When you look at golf, even though golf is a white collar sport, you have to go all the way back to, man, the changing of the guard was, when you had Arnie and Jack, right? And you had those rivalries. They were competitive. And then you had the one that obviously in my lifetime, in our lifetime, the Tiger Phil one lasted for a long time, and then when this whole live came about, you kind of lost a little bit of that deal because you don't have the best golfers in one venue at one time. Right. But the rivalries up until that point were there, because it was Rory's, he's the heir apparent of Tiger. Well, you can't ever catch Tiger. It was all these things. There was always these concepts of the greats up at the top, which right now, as we know, we've got the Belmo, who's the legend. We've got EJ, he's in that window, just like all the old guys on tour.
Right.
We're all hit that peak right in that same age window, right?
Yes.
The Petes, the Norms, the Parkers, your dad, even that window, it's that once you kind of hit 30, right, or close to it, that's when you start to figure things out. And that's when all of a sudden that next level is unlocked. And EJ kind of went past that a couple spots, right? Given what's going on right now. But you've got the Belmont EJ. That's a perfect rivalry, right? Like, they're the two of the best. You want to see that. That's made for TV. And then you throw Simo in there. Simo was good last year, even Kyle. I mean, these guys have all had good years in the last couple of years. But your main focus, the Tiger Phil of bowling right now is the Belmo EJ. And Simo's going to be that guy that's going to take one of those spots here. Probably Belmo's, because Belmo's not going to, like I said, Belmo's not going to be around forever. I mean, a couple more years probably. But
I guess what's upsetting to me is when, I don't remember. I think it was the World Championship where they showed EJ's last 7 tournaments, and his worst finish was 7th, and he's got 3, and they didn't even include the U.S. Open in that list on the TV show. And I look at that, or I look at Belmo winning more majors than my father has national PBA titles. And then I'm like, well, they ranked my dad the 16th greatest player in the world, and this guy's got more majors than he had national titles. And then I look at Tiger, and I look at what Scotty Scheffler is doing now. Basically, Scotty is EJ. And I'm looking at the comparison when it comes to the stats. And we always talk about it's sponsorship, it's this, it's that. It's upsetting to me the amount of work that these guys put in every week to be so dominant in their craft. And not get everybody knows who Aaron Judge is. Everybody knows who Tiger Woods is. Everybody knows who Jack Nicklaus was. But then Tiger shows up and he reincarnates golf and he spawns an entire new generation of golfers, right? The same way Belmo has done. He's going to be the reason that 70% of players use 2 hands in the next 10 years. On top of the 50% that already do it now. But it's embarrassing to me to say, holy crap, my food has been delivered to me by my dad's love and ability in this game for my entire life. And Belmo and Simo and guys like this are doing the exact same thing that Tiger did, but they're not reincarnating the sport the way that they should be.
Well, it's the fact of they're doing it, bro. But it's the thing of it's the exposure, right? There's exactly what we talked about earlier. There's why are you tuning in? Who wants to be a part of that, right? And it comes back to sponsors. It comes back to TV. I mean, obviously, we all know by now, we've only got a couple weeks left. I mean, the TV thing with Fox this year, man, it went down to the 11th hour, right, of getting the boys, back on Fox TV. What does that look like moving forward? We don't know. It's how do you market a player? And I was talking to Gary Holzenberger about this not too long ago, because all the years, right, when we got the whole jersey thing, the goal is, be like Bass Fish and do whatever. Go sell those spots. And, I remember Norm Duke and Bill Crispin arguing back and forth, right? Norm, he's like, I'm not putting that storm spout on my stomach, blah, blah, blah. And Bill flat out told him one time, he's like, you know what? You go find a sponsor who's going to pay you more money than I do. They can have that spot, and I'll gladly take the one above. The problem is in our sport, because we don't have the coverage, we don't have the airtime. How do you sell that spot on your shirt? If you're EJ or Belmo, that's cakewalk. Everyone wants to be a part of it because they're going to make 6 or 8 shows a year.
Sure.
But if you're that next tier down guy, you might like, you guys brought up Boog, right? Like Boog had a hell of a run last year, popped out of the PCQ, and now he's now a face. He's part of the PBA.
Yep.
But if Boog doesn't have that and he kind of gets his way through there, even though he won last year, is somebody really going to take a flyer and give Boog an outside sponsor? Hey, I'm going to give you XYZ because you're a pro bowler. Well, what's my ROI? Are you making, how many shows can you make? Sure. I don't know. I got a bowl.
Right.
He doesn't have that, he's not going to be, like you said, and like Simo's in the spot where, he's been battling the back and not bowling as good and whatever, but Simo made the show and he's obviously on pace. He's going to probably make he keeps going. He's going to make show this week. Like he's finally starting to feel better. And again, you've only got a handful of guys. You're like, man, I can invest in that guy because my logo is going to get exposure on TV, and now it's worthwhile. But if that guy doesn't make TV, who watches Bowl TV? Oh, that's right, only the bowling nerds who have a subscription to Bowl TV.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get the exposure of whatever the logos or whatever you're trying to sell, and you don't see. And like you said, we're talking about the identity and the story of bowling. And me and another buddy of mine were having this conversation not too long ago. You don't see bowlers in commercials outside of bowling, right? Like we did see the one Kyle and I think Ogle popped in the golf cart one, but
yeah,
because they got that sponsor there in Louisville. But man, they're not. There's no McDonald's beating down the door. There's no Coke, or there's no.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a thing of, because you don't have the exposure. Like, why would you invest in something you're not going to get the exposure back? So
that's fair, and that's just typical business. I mean, it's nothing personal. It's just it is what it is. Bowling doesn't have that exposure that they used to back in the '80s on ABC.
Right. And you can't go, I mean, and obviously the argument everybody says, because I do was on every Saturday, blah, 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 blah. Well, that is part of the equation, but it was also the deal of back then, you had the Firestone, which was sponsored by Firestone. You had Burger King, you had McDonald's, you had Valvoline, you had every week, just like golf does, every week there's a main title sponsor that helped the prize fund. That's
a great point. I completely forgot they don't do that anymore.
We don't do that, right? Like now it's like I said, this deal this year, I mean, and again, I know they're doing what they can, but man, we got Pilgrim's Chicken, Johnny's Crazy Socks, and Beatbox
Dude Wipes.
drink boxes, right? Dude Wipes. And Dude Wipes, and they're making a push across everything, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a sports guy. They're across all sorts of stuff right now.
Yep.
They're going all in is what they're doing.
But you're right. You said the True Value Open, the Split Fire Open. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're right. Every week was sponsored by a company.
And those back then, I mean, now you're talking to what the dollars were back in even the 80s. When you're winning $30,000 in the 80s, man, it went a whole hell of a lot longer than $30,000 does in today's society.
True.
And then when you had majors that were 100,000 back then, and guess what? 40 years later, majors are still only 100,000.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Where back then, golf was not in that deal. They were trying to figure it out. And that's what comes back. If I watched some of those documentaries and some of those interviews of the old guys, right? Like they talked about what do we have to do to get to that level? Because they were chasing bowling, right? They're like, we need more money. We need to.
Want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
So back in, I think it was 71 or 70 that Johnny Sr. had told me he had led the tour in earnings. And it was, I think, maybe 90 grand or something, which 1971. I think it was 71. And then Johnny just had to step out to have a restroom break. But this is one, and Johnny Miller, because this is straight from JP Sr. Johnny Miller led the PGA Tour in earnings, and it was like 240 grand, 280 grand. It was like a 3-to-1 ratio. Mm-hmm. And it made sense given the propensity of like how many fans you could have, the venues, the television, even at that point. But it made sense. And then
it all coincided.
Look where it happened, and now it's like the leader makes $10 million in golf, and the leader makes 300. We hope, and that's
the year that Kyle made $1 million was a big deal, right? Like,
he made $1 million. He made 450. I think it was like 500 grand.
Yeah, he broke Patrick Allen's record. And
not that that's bad, but like you're the best in the world at something that is a sport. It's been on the television for that long, so. I do remember him saying that. It didn't go any further than that. That's all I'm saying. Like it was basically, he made this much. Johnny Miller made this much. 3-to-1 ratio. It made sense, and it climbed a little bit, almost parallel, and then it started to take off.
And then it really
in the 90s, right? Maybe late 90s, and then we saw what happened.
Yeah. So how do you rectify that?
How did it happen is the problem. That's my point. Like, and that's where
exactly what you said
too.
With the like you said with the just the attendance stuff, right? Like, you had when you look at a golf course, and I mean if you've ever been to a PGA event, and I don't know how it was way back in the day, right? I've just gone to I've been lucky to go to a handful of them in the last 20 something years, but man, they're pumping through 100,000 people at the gate.
True.
Right. Like, and when you watch and Junior can tell you, I mean, obviously his dad, and even, from the 70s into the 80s, man, you see some of their shows like the True Value or Firestone or whatever, like in Akron, man, they got over 1,000 people in those venues. Like there was people as far as you could see in the bowling center. And now the only place that does that is actually next week in Akron. They're going to have that, right? Like they're going to have that place sells out crazy because it's still a bowling town. And it's a deal of it's a like if you were there this week at Jack 60, the Players Championship, is there 100 people in the building? And of the 100 people, how many of them paid admission to go watch the best bowlers in the world? None. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a different thing.
That's it right there.
Schlem, want to make sure we address some of the comments here. First one's from Dale Stewart, who's been here all night. Schlem, you can have anyone from any other brand aside from EJ, obviously. Who do you choose?
Loaded question right there. I love it. Fucking love it.
Loaded.
You're going to offend somebody, so I love it.
Wow.
I won't answer if you don't want to, but.
Huh. That's a good question. I got to think about that one.
I thought it was a good question, too. I actually just asked Rob to bring it back up.
And you're already doing it right, too.
Because I'm sitting here like, who on God's green earth would you take if you can only take one to add to the brands of Storm?
Honestly,
there's got to be a green guy you see, and you're like, man, that guy. Well, I don't know. Maybe he can't. Talents.
I do.
He do.
Yeah, there's plenty of people, right? But when you look at it's a double-edged sword, right? When you look at the righty to lefty thing,
hence the question,
because we all know it's been this way forever, right? And what's funny is I used to talk about the deal of and anybody who knows the last 20 plus years, once we got west of the Mississippi, it was known as the left coast. We knew the lefties were going to make the show in Reno. That was a guarantee. And usually by that point in the season, lefties had been doing so good. So we knew it was going to get a little softer on that side. But then there was, because I'm friends, Junior, I've been friends with your dad for a long time. And, even Couch, I mean, the number of times, room with Couch and did some other stuff, right? Like they knew there was weeks where they were just locked out. Like that was just a thing, right? But, when you look at we got a big stable of guys, but man, we just picked up Justin Knowles on the rotor grip side. Got Jesper. We don't have a ton of lefties, right? Like, I think maybe a lefty would get thrown in the mix, whether it's Butters or, or Graham Fowler or somebody, in that regard. As far as righties, Revs, I see Ethan. Ethan was actually on our staff, and he just kind of left. Like he didn't reach out to anybody. And, he was, because I actually worked with him last year at the World Series in Detroit when I was there for a little bit. And great kid. Kid throws it good. He's got a lot of talent. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, hey, I'm leaving. Oh, okay, cool. But, it is what it is, right? It's bowling.
Sure. And thank you for that very appropriate answer.
Toe the line, man.
While
Toe
also
the line.
hinting, I get it. And it
there's, like I said, I know obviously plenty of those guys. Like you said, we've got a big staff, and I was like, especially on the ladies tour. Hell, we even got more ladies we got more ladies on staff on a ladies tour than men we have on the men's tour. Like, it's totally different out there, right? But when you look at, if you're trying to, I like to refer to it as you're building a roster like any sports franchise, right? Like when you're building the Yankees, okay, the New York Yankees. Well, you can't have 9 Aaron Judges. You got to build put the pieces around
Ocho, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Al my toe? Is that what'd you say? Oh, my toe?
Then you start with Ocho, and then you go from there.
ESPN the Ocho? Yeah, that's where the Wickleball Championships are.
Dodgeball is always going to be on.
Yeah. It's been cranking.
Next question for you real quick from our good friend Moselle Henry. I know Storm Products is an innovate, don't duplicate kind of company, but now the two-handers and high rev rates are such a part of the game, we're starting to see, should I say, tamed down equipment design for just 2 hands. I don't know. I can't see the rest, Rob.
The rest of it says she's the queen of retro. She saw Simo with the Alpha Crux last week. Will we see a resurrection of classics like the Black or Blue Thunder? Urethane is back. Could classic cover stocks and cores come back too? Obviously, the inverted FE2 is still a dynasty, but she'd love to see the original FE2 Retro Black Thunder.
Yeah, we've talked about some of the retro balls, right? Like it's been one of those things. But as far as the two-handed thing going, right? Like as far as balls going backwards, that has nothing to do with technology and innovation, right? Because there's other parts to our game that cause these problems, and that is you guys understand bowling. When was the last time the heads were changed in any bowling center that you bowl in?
Oh, I'm an amateur. I'm a major amateur that knows nothing about bowling, and I know that.
15, 20 years
You know
ago.
what I'm saying? Like you have naturally built-in friction on every lane surface. Wood obviously is the dominant more. Basically. Wood's way more. You used to be able to deal. You cut them, right? But when you get into panels, and then you get all the generations of different synthetics, which, I don't even remember what it was. At one point in time, there was like 30 plus different types of synthetic lane surfaces.
Yes.
Bowling centers don't go, oh, hey, it's been 2 years. I should put new head panels in. Let's fix, because the impact of a bowling ball, if you guys look at it under, a scope, right? Like it cracks. That's what causes the friction in a lane surface, because the impact of a bowling ball hitting a hard surface, that's what causes that.
I was just going to say that they're dropping the ball.
Yep, and then you get
especially amateurs. Like that's the whole point.
And think about just like the face of a golf club, right? You get the trampoline effect because there's a little flex in there, right? So the flex up and down. Well, eventually that starts to just kind of give way. So you create topography problems and whatever, right? And then you get into the lane oils and the lane machines and all the other variables. But I think the big thing for me has always been kind of like, well, how new is the lane surface? And when you start talking about you've got to build, it's because the bowling balls do this or that. And we're like, okay, well, the lane surface is 40 years old. How do you combat that?
Right.
If you know what I'm saying?
Like the plaza at South Point, and compared to the regular bowling alley where it wants to chug the second it hits the lane, you go into the plaza, it's like, ooh, it's like an ice skating rink because it's so clean.
Right.
But let's also talk about when a lot of the league guys are throwing it in the same spot too, that do go on, that wind up being at these tour stops. These league guys are all dropping it right over 10 or 15-ish. Am I getting that?
Yeah, whatever the house pattern is, right?
That's what I mean. So like they're feeding it the way that. So correct. These are this is the first time on Straight Up 5 that this has ever been discussed. Also, we always break down a lot of shit about bowling balls, the pins, the decks, all this shit. But first time on Straight Up 5 that we're talking about with the damage from a rock landing 1,000,000 times in freaking 2 months to a lane. So thank you for that.
Junior, you know that because obviously at South Point, right? Because they're still on the cycle of, because it's such a high volume, they got leagues that travel from California to bowl there. And Absolutely. So it's the highest volume center in Vegas by far. So every few years they're putting lanes, they're doing everything. Their machine, I mean, they just did the machine overhaul, but the lane panels, man, they're like on an every 3 to 5 year cycle. They're because they know they have to change them. Not every bowling center in America is on that cycle. In fact, that's like the only one I know of. Like every place else, like I said, at Jack 60, you walk in this week, beautiful center. But exactly what we said, Ocho, it's the deal of if your league pattern plays a certain way. So no matter what pattern they put out there, before the pros even throw a shot, that pattern
is
there's already an extension, there's already friction built into that spot, however big that window is. I mean, league bowlers, that's a bigger window, bigger than my big head. So you're either going to force the guys to play through it or around it. And
they have to know that. You got to be a physics major again. We always say this too. You got to be a physics major.
You're not until you start throwing shots. You're not going to see what the characteristics of lane service are, right? But it's just like we always talk about wild bowling compares to golf. Well, golf, you can see all the obstacles,
right?
You see the trees, you see the bunkers, you see
the undulations are there. I got a breaker putter this way. Yep.
And
when you walk in a bowling lane,
on the bowling lanes,
those of us who've been around a long time, you can see like the topography just off the gutters, right? But you can't see what's in the middle unless you walk up and put your nose almost on it, investigate. But then you still don't know until shots go down the lane. Right. So that's part of I think that's always just been part of the deal that doesn't get talked about enough. I don't think, because it just makes it tough on every. And again, it's cause and effect. So what the ball starts doing instantly off your hand dictates where it goes and the move, and then. You see the tour guys. Well, hey, they're lofting the left gutter cap. Well, why are they lofting the left gutter cap? Oh, that's right, because that's part of the lane that people who open play bowl, Cosmic Bowl, they're not hooking the ball from that part of the lane. That's a fresh surface. It's solid. There's no impact area there. So it creates added push.
So when you're developing bowling balls, and I don't think we ever had anybody in the show that ever did, so it's good to have you here, to speak about that as well.
Okay.
How much is changing a core due to a ball? And I know we see Hammer use like the gas mask core for so many balls and all like that, but like, are you guys still developing new ways to change the inside of the bowling ball, or are you just kind of changing cover stocks?
No, it's a nonstop thing, right? Like when you look at some of the parts that, obviously very fortunate to have Hank Boomershine, Hank's, Uncle Mo was, God rest his soul, was he helped change the game, right? And then Hank, it's the one that came behind that, right? And then you got the guys with the other brands that are doing their thing. When you develop parts, right? You got RGs and differentials, you got target scores, and certain RGs do certain things, but then it gets into the densities, right? And that's where, for us in development, we've got the density, we have the different densities with slugs and FE2 balls on the inside on top of all the different shapes. And, it's a constant, it's a never ending thing, right? Like you can't just rest, and again, nothing against the other guys, right? Because trust me, if it works, you keep making it. And obviously It's worked for a long time. That gas mask, kudos to them, right? Like it's been around for almost 20 years.
Amateurs check out right now, by the way, because this is so technical.
High Road, IQ Tour Phase 2, right? Those have just withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of balls come and go since then. And there's been new technologies in both cores and covers. And it's a never-ending process, right? But at the same time, everybody likes to bitch and complain like, oh, the bowling balls tear up the lane condition, da, 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 da. Well, yeah, but it's also, it can be dictated with the lane machine because we see it all the time. When you look, prime example I give on that one, right? And again, don't come at me for your nonsense, but what tournament do more people bowl every year and they do it and they get their nuts kicked in every year and yet they still travel to go do it? What bowling tournament is that?
I'd say the U.S. Open.
Well, how about the USBC tournament? How about the Open Championship?
Oh,
how many times do people bowl league? No, I'm not talking about tour. let's put that in perspective.
My bad.
That
USBC,
shows,
man.
Yeah, you could be a 200 plus average bowler, and how many times
145 over there?
Like
they average 160 or 150 and go, "Oh, this is bullshit."
You, Rob.
It's not like my league shot, and they show that the manipulation of a pattern can dictate a scoring pace. It's proven every year.
Every year.
There are thousands of people.
But
But
Schlemm,
yet,
I wanted to ask this question before USBCs, which, by the way, I could not agree with you more on that because I go out there and if I bowl 1,800, I'm happy. So,
yeah. And by the way, last time I checked, you I don't know, you were averaging what, 230, 240 there in whatchamacallit at South Point?
Oh yeah, so yeah, and then I think the
last time I saw you bowl when you were living there in bowling league, you were throwing a plastic ball up 5, and
Yes.
you
Straight up 5, buddy.
You shot like 780 that night. You know
That
what I'm saying? With plastic.
I do.
Schlemm, the question I had to follow up when we were talking about bowling balls.
Yeah,
I have felt this way at least since the High Road came out. The original High Road and then the High Road Pearl, the outer shell was deeper than most bowling balls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was a weight block. It was like it was the modern version of old school bowling balls. Like you go back to the balls in like the 80s, right? Because outer cores weren't. We had, I guess, you have to look at the development part of it, right? Like because when we went from, and you can talk to your dad about this, bowling balls were cork on the inside. Then we're like, oh, hey, we're going to find this way to put this core thing in it, and then we're going to put a puck at the top of it to make it do something. The pancake weight block.
Yes.
Well, for a really long time after that, when you created a weight block, you poured the material around it. You didn't put it in a core. And then because the core ball was just that pancake weight block.
Right.
It was then came the deal of, oh, hey, we can put this block inside that core, and now we can change the RGs and diffs, and we can do all this other chaos. So
I guess my question
the High Road goes back to there's no core around it. It's still the weight block.
To me, it's always been that those balls with deeper outer shells or deeper cover stocks have always been a little bit more consistent for a little bit longer, like the Purple Hammer or any ball that outer shell just goes down there a little bit more. It doesn't go sideways. You can manipulate it a little bit more, seemingly to me. And I'm curious, what is there any point in technology where, especially in today's game, if we're trying to get a little bit further away from the urethane motion and allow more balls to be on television, do we think it's a good idea to kind of bring back that deeper shell on like iconic balls like they did on the High Road and High Road Pearl?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, obviously, the other part of it, bro, you got to factor in the cost because now when you have that much cover stock material wrapped around a weight block as opposed to the shell of wrapping around a core, you increase the cost quite a bit. And given in today's society, and I'm not a political person by no stretch of the words, but things went sideways today. Now we got the tariffs, and we're what are we going to look like, right? And when, the example most people know, like when we came out of COVID, right? And we all saw it when you had supply issues and you had materials like, oh, well, you can get this, but it's going to be, and all those things, that was like it was the forced increase of ball prices because all the manufacturers were like, oh, well, what used to cost to get our plastic bags that come in, oh, that went up 32%.
Right.
And
I'm experiencing with Brunswick being in Mexico.
And even with those guys, right? Like, and they're like, oh, yeah, this additive you put in the material, oh, you can get it, but you're going to have to wait. But if you pay us an extra 80%, we'll bump you up the list. Right. So it turned into all these different pieces, parts, right? And it's, build a bowling ball it's a recipe sheet, right? It's just like a cookbook. You've got all these materials that go into it and all these pieces, parts. And you got to look, and then you add all those up, and what's the overall cost, right? Does that make sense? And again, I bring this up. we talked about it in numerous times. I mean, you talk about golf to now, man. If you guys looked at the price of a golf driver, they're a little bit more than they were back in 1990, '95 when reactive balls came out that are still the same.
You get a
price
set
as
of
they
golf
are.
clubs in '95 for what a driver costs now, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, right?
Like
It's just
ones are like $54 now,
and they go in the woods just as fast as them damn top plates.
Oh.
Hey, Schlem, I got
Even
quick
faster.
question. So I thought I had a genius answer for something. I saw Johnny Sr. at the bowling alley, and he had told me he just got back from he called it the Ladies and Legends tournament. And you said you've drilled for. And he said, we're done. And I said, what do you mean you're done? He's like, yeah, it was the last one. We're not going to have it. And I said, well, let's rebrand it. I said, we'll do the Viagra and vaginas. And he thought it was brilliant, and it went nowhere. And I think we're onto something. And if you know somebody, talk to his guy.
I mean,
I'm telling you,
it could have been
marketing in that.
In that case, it could have been like Depends and Tampax. I mean, you whatever way you want to spin it, bro.
Listen,
but,
it was a top of the moment thing, but
Ginkgoba and always.
I will tell you, the girls back in the day, right? Like there a lot of things were cool back then, right?
They had a lot of stuff going on, man. Like on the YouTube, you could still see it.
In one of the deals, I'll never forget is either my first year or second year drilling balls on a ladies tour. They're like, hey, you need to bring a tuxedo. And I go, for the merit doubles in junior, your dad probably remembers that. Of course, he was kind of out of that spot. But that was the one where the merit doubles was the top 24 men and top 24 women. And they bowled and they got paired together, right? But it was a black tie affair, kind of like the TSC used to be. Guys, used to wear tux and limos and the whole thing to get to the TSC because it was the tournament of champions.
Sure.
But anytime the girls bowled with especially the seniors, both sides loved it. It was always awesome.
I don't get why it died off.
Very, very well.
It's terrible. And again, even like why these are the things I don't understand anyway. I don't understand the marketing of it to begin with, but like I feel like it's already like a homegrown thing. It's like you're watching the women's tour with the senior tour. Like it's almost like a match made in heaven. And I didn't understand it. Of course it was a joke, but it's still there's some credence with the Viagra and vaginas. Like think about it. But it didn't make sense that it ended, honestly. Like that's the part that I was kind of thrown by. And he was, and then I never talked bowling with Johnny Sr. anyway. So like we were just goof around about other stuff. So I never got into it, but it just, it almost, I still didn't understand how something like that could just fall by the wayside. I'm sure there's economics and whatnot.
It was purely sponsorship stuff, right? Like
right. I'm sure.
And I can tell you, like back in the late '90s when the ladies tour was kind of starting to crumble, right? Like when I was out there drilling, it was one of those deals it was like my second year. We ended up going to Sam's Town because Sam's Town was still the blanket sponsor of the ladies tour at that point in time. And as they lost a couple sponsors, we ended up just like, oh, by the way, we're supposed to go to such and such. Oh, now we're going to Vegas to Sam's Town because we can bowl in that center because that's the host, of the entire tour. And so, the 1 year, I think we were there. I think we had 4 events at Sam's Town that one season. Just because you lose sponsors, right? Like that's just that's
Could
always
you
part of the
see
game.
the writing on the wall though with that or no? Or was it like not? You're so into like doing your job too.
Even though I was a kid, right? Like even though I was a kid and kind of new to it and kind of just learning how things were unraveling and going, like it you could see it when things just started to like, oh, we lost this sponsor, like, oh, well, our time slots moving on ES because the girls were on ESPN.
Predictability started to come about, I guess. Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, oh, hey, you guys are moving, we're going to change the next session. You'd have like a 3 weeks or 4 weeks off and like, oh, well, instead of Tuesdays, it's going to be Thursdays. Oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Like that was, you could already kind of,
and then once it starts to go, that's a tough freaking avalanche to freaking, crawl back up, that's, which really it seemed like an avalanche, honestly.
Yep.
Damn. Anyway, I just we'll get the Viagra vaginas going again. That's what we should do.
I saw this. So the comment, right? Rubber went to plastic. Plastic actually, there was a hybrid of plastic and urethane made by Roto-Grip that actually So Rotogrip's always been kind of the innovator because Rotogrip dates back to the mid 50s, right? And Vinny Atito actually was creating hybrid covers before anybody even knew what the hell it was. And whoever was manufacturing for him at the time, which he had balls made by Ebonite and AMF and Columbia and all this stuff over the years, right? So it morphed into that, and then we got to reactive, and then we've had particles. Is reactive the end game? Probably not, because we're finding new chemistries that kind of like the RPM cover that we have on the level, right? Like it's a new material that's not reactive and it's not urethane. They're all from plastic to now. It's all a derivative of a polyol or a polyurethane. It's just variations and different mixtures of it, right? And we're finding new mixtures and new combinations that, yeah, I would have to say that there's plenty more to come. So,
what are you testing, or can you not talk about what are you testing, or is that R&D that we can't get into?
Yeah, we're testing bowling balls. That's all I can tell you, right?
Okay.
Because it's one of those things that it's like anything else. It's a never-ending process, and you're never going to get ahead of it. I mean, I shouldn't say never get ahead of it, but there's always new avenues and new things that open. And it's like when you try something like, oh, well, we did this with this cover. Okay, we like this or we like that. Can we modify it? And then you go down all these different angles and tangents. And, there's some balls that, we were able to kind of put together and they magically line up and things fall into place really quickly. And then there's times where you take like if you guys remember a couple summers ago, we did a ball called the Tour Dynamics for Rotogrip, right? And I wanted to make a ball, again, playing off the urethane thing, less differential, calm it down. We went through 3 iterations and ended up taking almost a year before we got it to where it was the right thing. Like, so there's always irons in the fire. Let's put it that way. That's always stuff cooking. So.
Do you have chemists on staff, or do you kind of consult with them as far as trying to find different polymers and chemicals and all that?
Yeah, I mean that is from we've got different access to different people outside of our vendors and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got all sorts of avenues like everybody else does in the industry, right? Like it's a never ending process. So you don't have and that's what I love when people come up and are like, oh yeah, so and so they know everything about bowling. I go, if they know everything about bowling, I've got some ocean property in Arizona for you because nobody's figured it out and nobody knows it all, right? Like even the smartest mind in this business, we all we talk about it and everybody is like, things just kind of happen. And then there's an aha moment and then you put it together and you keep pushing forward. And if you ever reach the point where you're not learning anything while you bowl and that's what I tell people. First off, my first question is always, do you have fun? And then the next thing is, did you learn anything? And if you get to the spot where you're not learning anything, then accept it for what it is, enjoy the fun and do that. But if you can't do either one of those, why the hell are you even doing it?
Right.
Don't be miserable. Like find something else to do.
True.
I couldn't agree more. Schlem, we've kept you here for almost 90 minutes. Rob, I don't know if you have anything else, but I want to at least take a moment to say, Schlem, this has been one of my favorite episodes. I'm learning things and understanding things more so than I ever did before. So thank you very, very much for all your
yeah, bro, absolutely. I was honored to be on here with you guys. And when Skis hit me up and I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's always, we can never learn too much. And like I said, it's a never ending process, right? Like we all continue to learn in all different aspects and things just you start looking at stuff and, and what's funny is like, even their time as smart as Hank is, right? Hank is one of the smartest human beings I know. And there's always these times where he'll be like, dude, I finally figured it out. And then he'll spew something and I'm like, no shit. Like sometimes it just like, it may take us 10 years, 15 years, or, the fun thing is like when you figure out something of why something worked in, back in 98, why did it work? And all of a sudden now we've got more technology, more stuff and go, oh, that makes total sense. That's why I did that. Oh, okay. But like I said, when you got other variables, like I said, the big thing, like the lane service, right? All you guys on the screen all had a blank look on your face. You're like, Never thought of it that way.
Exactly.
But it's the truth of the matter, right? Like it's what our game's confined to, and it's not like even example like pickleball is going to be on a court or even cornhole, right? The bags are hitting the boards. You carry the same boards tournament to tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a fresh set of boards, whatever event you're going to play. So yeah, it's a wild thing.
Dude, it's uplifting to hear somebody who's been around it in every single aspect of the sport. And like you said at the top of the show, talking to all the different personalities, figuring out like how to weed everybody, how to get through it. I've said this for 153 episodes. I'll say it for the next 153 episodes. The work that you do and the work that you guys do and the work that the players do, I really hope to God that they get rewarded just a little bit more in the years to come. And hopefully us as a bowling community, we figure out a way to do that.
Yep, exactly it, man. Like it's you're not the only one. There are a lot of us have that sentiment, right? Like, what's the big picture? What's the end game? How does it get better, right? Like, and again, like I said, a corporate sponsor, are they going to waltz in and go, oh yeah, I want to be the sponsor of bowling? Well, they want to go, what am I making off my sponsorship, right? Like, what is my exposure? And we have to figure out what that exposure is. And I think you nailed it on the head, right? And we talked about what is the identity and what is our story. And we have to figure out how to tell those stories and explain it to the masses, not just to, the couple million people that bowl organized bowling, right?
Correct.
When 55 million plus people bowl a year, are we talking all 55 million? Not so much. Like, we've got to figure out how to help blossom this and grow it for sure.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, Schlem, I think we're good for. We kept you long enough tonight. We'll definitely have to have you on again. Thanks for being here and have fun at WrestleMania, brother.
Dude. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm glad you get to go. I got to go to 27 in Atlanta and 14 in Boston.
Oh, nice.
So it's definitely an experience that if you're a wrestling fan, you have to do. Like, definitely.
I've been a wrestling fan since I was a little kid, and this is a bucket list thing for me, so I'm pumped about it for sure.
That's so cool. So have a good time. Make sure you send me pics and stuff. So
hell yeah, dude. I got you.
And man, be safe. Hopefully you'll heal up soon as well. You don't have to, hopefully you'll be all right to travel. And
that's that. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been traveling and doing stuff. Yeah. Just, I've been traveling and doing everything. So I just gotta, just want to get healed shut, man, and not have to deal with any of this. So.
Yes, I agree.
Saying prayers for you,
and then I can get on your workout regimen, right? Like,
there you
once
go.
I can get, and when I'm allowed to be active, then I can do that. But right now, I'm not allowed to be active. So
it sucks. It's so counterproductive. Yeah, I get it.
Yep.
But all right, brother. Well, we hope you have a great night, and again, have fun at WrestleMania coming up here. What next? God, I don't even know the date anymore. It's usually over by now.
No, it's Easter weekend. It's Easter next weekend. Fly to Vegas next Friday. Yep.
Nice.
Heck yeah. Right. Heck yeah.
Yep.
Enjoy yourself, brother.
Absolutely, boys.
And again, thank you again.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
See you, bud. Take care. All right. Good dude, great, man. Really good dude. No, it really was.
He's always been like that. He's always been real, down to earth, and that's why he did such a fabulous job with all the players, because he can relate to everybody like that. He knows he knows what page to read, so to speak,
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And
hi, Cal.
He really is Kelly's there. Hey, Kelly.
Yeah, he knows he knows how to take care of the players. He knows how to take care of the brand. He's one of my last memories in Vegas before I moved home was me, Schlemer, and Matt McNeil hanging out at the Orleans of all places.
Yeah.
And I got a couple great pictures. I was so burnt from playing golf with David Haynes for like the last 7 days. My skin's beat red, but we shared a couple really, really great stories in the Orleans bar together. I can't even remember what tournament it was, to tell you the truth, why I was even there.
Right.
But he's always been that guy that he's just always there. He's just always there for you with his perception, his view, and he's just the best. So thank you again. And thank you, Jeff, for both of you guys for doing all the work that you always do to get him here.
And Pete Dom's in the house. How'd you bowl, Pete? How'd your day go?
Let's go.
And he's just Right
and
there, dude.
Steve Sakis, thank you very much for the comments throughout the night. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to say hi to you. John Rome, congrats on 300 last night, brother. Awesome. Awesome to hear everybody cheering and see that smile on that face. Rudy Revs, always the legend and always the scariest bowler in the world to bowl against.
Still.
Yes.
Plus 81.
All right. I haven't checked the scores, but hey.
It's been rough.
Plus is good.
Plus is very good. It has been rough. Yeah. A lot of people are starting.
Yeah, PD, let's go. 410 overall.
410 overall. Fuck yeah, PD. Let's go. He's right on the cusp. He's been fucking bowling his ass off this year. Like, seriously. We're pulling for you, Patrick. We appreciate you hanging out here every week on your busy schedule. Alex, the workout diet. So I need to get more in a calorie deficit. I'm not eating a lot. I do snack a lot, but mostly just clean stuff like protein bars, protein chips, shit like that. But not a lot of carbs. But I've plateaued for the last few weeks. But I've made gains in the gym. So am I gaining muscle, not losing fat? Is that why I'm not moving on the scale? I don't know. But I feel better. I have a lot more energy, and my cardio is better. So I feel better. And I am losing inches, but I'm just not losing pounds. So I'm sure it'll click once my body.
Rad Rob, you keep going. There is no. You will see a plateau after the initial gains and the initial loss.
Yeah.
But you know as well as anybody, consistency is key. You keep doing exactly what you've been doing, and it's going to be just fine. And Dale Stewart, got to give you a shout out, Dale. You had a lot of really, really good questions tonight.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure having you on tonight. You really brought a lot of great questions tonight. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you a shout out, Dale.
Thanks, Alex.
And like Alex says for you, Rob, just Simon Sinek, one of my favorite people to follow on any social media platform. You go to the gym once, you see nothing. You go for a month, you start to see something. You go for 3 months, everybody else sees something.
Yep.
And exactly you just keep going, man. Just keep going. If you do something every single day, I promise, whether it's for better or worse, I'm trying not to drink alcohol. I'm trying not to drink alcohol, especially on our show. It's, and next week, get a little bit easier. It's just like weightlifting or cardio training or whatever you're doing for whatever reason.
No, it's a great way to put it. And I am in a phase now where I'm seeing the changes, like being able to do more reps, being able to lift heavier for more reps. Like I'm seeing the progress that I'm making. And the scale's a fucking liar. So I'm not worried about that. I feel great. So I'm just gonna
don't look at the scale because you don't actually have a target, do you? Like don't wake up and say, "Oh, I want to lose 56 pounds."
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's a lifelong thing.
I can't.
I can't stop.
When my waist is smaller.
Right. I got to do it.
You can't think that way, right?
I got to do it forever. Like it's gonna be the rest of my life. So there's no.
And if you choose not to for 3 months, 6 months, it's okay.
Right.
You can go right back to it.
Ocho, I guess, is gone for the evening with
Ocho is
duties.
gone. He wanted me to say hello, good night to everybody, and he's taking care of little Gabriella right now.
That's good. Did you have bagels with your pops Sunday morning?
I sure did, Mr. Sakis. I sure did, and thank you for that wonderful conversation we had together at Strathmore. I'm not gonna talk about it on this show, but. Thank you for confiding in me, and thank you for sitting with me. Loved you for a very, very long time, bro. So thank you again for reaching out and saying that.
You have a wealth of support from everybody, Johnny. So
as do you, sir. As do you.
Yeah, we it's in this community. I mean, anybody that's involved with you or this show or has been watching us for a while are all good peeps with. Great commentary, great thoughts, and we just love our chat. We really do.
We do.
I said it last week, and I mean it. Like, we really do have the best fans, of bowling and of this show. So, all right, that wraps it up. I don't have anybody planned for next week, so maybe we can get back into some tour talk, but we'll see.
I did happen to message somebody very important to you. I'll actually send you the screenshot. Maybe you can talk to Schlem. I'll show you what I tried to do for you. I got a follow back, but I didn't get a response back.
I gotcha.
So okay. I'll actually send it to you as soon as we get off.
All right, sweet.
I'll do it during the outro.
All right. Thanks, Clifton. Appreciate it, brother. Yes. Thank you. If your clothes are loose and getting, my clothes are. I'm actually down a shirt size, so I'm happy about that. Thanks, Brown. Thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for being here. And for Ocho and the sexy man Johnny Jr. This is Rad Rob. We'll see you next week for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No